So back in 2020, I self-released an EP called Old School Fresh, which was my fresh take on old school jungle. The whole EP was made with a computer, and about the time as I just released it, I had an opportunity to score a really great maxed out S1000. So that prompted me to build like this very minimalistic hardware-based setup. So that EP, the Old School Fresh, it got the attention of some people. So I got contacted by the Disrupt Records and they asked me if I have some tracks for a possible vinyl release, which I didn't have at the time. But I thought, well, I just built this new setup, I might as well, that's a great opportunity to create new music, which I did. So I think I've sent them eventually 5 new tracks and they signed 4 tracks. So 2 of them got released in the 12-inch together with remixes by Equinox and Kidlip. And unfortunately, due to some just life circumstances, the label decided to take a break from doing further releases. So a couple of other tracks that kind of got signed, they no longer gonna be released on that label. So I'm gonna show you today one of the tracks that were sort of signed by the Disrupt label to be released in the future, and now it's not gonna be released. But I really think that it's a kind of great track, and I want to break it down to you and show you how I made it. All the samples, all the sequence sort of sounds in the track, I made them myself. I didn't sample any other records. Everything I use in this track is made by myself. So I kind of played some melodies and then sample that into a sampler and then play it back as a sample, as a loop, but it's still made by me and not taken from other records. The only sample I actually sampled was the vocal, which I'm going to show you now is this vocal.
Communication system.
Communication system.
I really like the tone of it, and I was actually listening to David Bowie interview from like the 70s or maybe 80s, I don't remember now because the track is like 4 years old already. And I really like the interviewer, the host. He was just asking some questions and he said this phrase like communication system, and it really stuck with me because it has this really nice old school sort of 80s vibe, the sound, the texture. So I took it and I just gave it extra time stress variations.
Communication system.
Communication system.
Yeah, so other than that, let's just go through other samples and see what I'm using. Let's start with the aim and break. So for the aim and break, this is the first generation break, and the first generation break means that it comes straight from the original source. So it comes from the original Aim Brother record, and it doesn't have any extra or additional processing. So the only processing this one break actually has is just that it went to the S1000 and it goes through the Soundcraft EQs and saturation, and that's it. So it sounds pretty, I don't know, hard hitting, I don't know how to say. So to make it even more interesting, it's just a small like couple of second loop, but I have like chopped it up in small like phrases, and I also add more time stretched variation, so I would have like flexibility in programming the sample to be quite interesting. So these are the chops that I'm using. Yeah, so that's quite a lot, isn't it? Just to play with. Then the next sample is the hot pan sample, and I think I really also have quite a bit of chops. And then the next one is the Cool in the Hands break. I don't normally chop them in such a small pieces, but I don't know why I chopped it. I think that I was still trying to find the right workflow with this setup, so I was kind of like trying things, how they work, just to be able to make something interesting out of that. So, and the rest of it is like the 808 bass. It's literally just the 808 kick. Now the pad. I think I've just sampled like single note from some sort of like VST soft plugin, and I use it with this Akai sampler. It kind of sounds cool. The pad chords as well, I just played some random chords with some VST plugins, and I just picked the one that I really liked and then resampled that into Akai and just play back through the whole system, and it kind of sounds really like lo-fi and kind of cool. Nice one. And then I've got sequenced sounds like that. So yeah, these are like the same, I've used them on the 3 different channels, but they all come out from the same app of my Akai. So I just want to have like more variation on playing every sequence with different like notes, but they're all coming out into one channel for mixing. And then the last one is the vocals.
Communication system.
Communication system.
So that's it. And once I have everything programmed and laid down into my sampler as programs, I just start making a track. And I don't ever I never have like an actual idea of what I'm gonna do, of what my track is gonna sound like. I always start my track with just generating all sorts of sounds and then creating a mini sample pack for that particular track. And once I have everything inside the sampler, I just start playing with sounds and just see how everything goes and everything fits together. 90% of the time things work, but there are those 10% that sometimes I spend all this time acquiring samples and stuff, and then spending time with just sampling in and creating programs and chopping stuff, and then I start making a track and just nothing works. Just things don't work. So that sometimes feel like a waste of time. But as I said, 90% of the time I'm pretty happy with how things are going. And for me, it's never about the end result. It's always about the journey. I know everybody says this is really cheesy phrase, but it is about the journey. The making music is much more exciting for me than having the finished result. Obviously, the finished result, I'm gonna love it. If I love the process of making a track, I definitely gonna love the finished finished track. So without further ado, let's get onto the track and enjoy it. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet, and see you on the other video.
Communication system.
Communication system.
Communication system.
Communication system.